All right, let's give the Lord a hand. Thank you, God. All right, so today we're going to have Head Deacon Marissa speak a little bit about autism. She's in that field, working with autistic people. And as she describes the medical terms and symptoms of autism, I want you to kind of relate it to yourself, okay? Don't think like, oh, I know someone like that. It's probably you, all right? The different forms of autism, all right? And the core definition of autism is someone who has a hard time socializing, someone who has a hard time engaging with other people. And before I let her speak, I want to just kind of recap what I said yesterday. The word autism and these new terms, medical terms, attention deficit disorder, compulsiveness, ODD, whatever the case may be. When she was kind of describing some of her experiences at the workforce and the symptoms, Pastor Eugene, my wife's like, hey, that was me. She's like the queen, okay, of autism. She was very invert kind of personality. When I met her, when she was 23, she was more happy confined to her room. And at that time, when I was kind of in rebellion to God, the way she would open up and be very friendly was when she drank with me. When we go to the nightclubs and she drinks, I think that's why maybe a lot of people drink or smoke weed, because a different person comes out, right? The real person, is hidden in you through fear and what other issues you have. And so these medical terms, I think these symptoms have always been here. And I think they're just labeling it now, but what I want to share with you, what I said yesterday, okay? I think these issues of fear or insecurity, low self-esteem, if you're going to focus on that and define yourself based on those weaknesses of yours, then you're going to prevent yourself from really coming to your full potential for the glory of God. And I think the world and the devil is trying to use these issues on you so that you stay hidden and not come to your full potential for the Lord's work and plan in your life. And then the devil or life itself will use the traumas and the abuses and the negative experiences that you've gone through, whether you feel rejected, whether you feel abandoned, whether you feel lonely, and the enemy wants you to just focus on that rather than the solution, right? And a lot of times you have the solution. Your solution is God. Your solution is Jesus Christ, but yet you're not applying the solution, right? You're not coming to the understanding of your solution. You are just acknowledging the solution, but not doing anything about it, and therefore you're still stuck or still living like the old person rather than the new person, right? The new person in Christ, who is a new transformed creation, that now the old is gone and the new is here, and that now you can engage, you can go out, you can be like the Lord because the Spirit of God works in you and through you, which means that if the Spirit is working, or if you allow, let me put it that way, if you allow the Holy Spirit to work in you and through you, then you, wherever you go, okay, wherever you go, you can bring the atmosphere of peace, right? Because you're called to be peacemakers. You can bring the atmosphere of God's blessing. You yourself is bringing God's light, and therefore that His light in you is illuminating the darkness wherever you go. And like if the field was all yellow, now it's going to turn green because you're there now. But, see, there's always a but, right? But a lot of us still hide, right? You're hiding. It's still in your egg or cocoon or whatever you want to, or under the rock, right? Whatever you want to be under or in. And you kind of want to glory in that weakness rather than coming out to glorify God. So as she presents this, I don't want you to think, oh yeah, my friend, my wife, my kids. No, it's you. I think all of you got some form. I'm the only normal one, okay? I want you to listen to the symptoms and see if this is you. Evaluate yourself. Make a choice to come out of it. A lot of Asians, right, we just go with this cultural premise that we're all shy, right? You might hide under anxiety. You might hide under fear, shyness, anxiety, insecurity, whatever, right? And you're not living the full potential, and this affects your marriage. This affects your relationship with your children. This affects your ability for some of you to even get married, all right? Because you hide thinking that you're going to find this perfect woman or man, but the reality is you're so insecure that you're just constantly delaying. You could be doing that, and that is just a reflection of your own relationship with God. All right, a lot of times your own relationship with people is really a reflection of the relationship between you and God. And then we just deceive ourselves with some type of justification. So I want you guys to pay attention, all right? And she's got a lot of good stories with the toddlers that she deals with, 3, 4, 6-year-olds. They probably act like most of our people, right? And I'm sure some of you will relate because like, that's me? Not funny? All right, Deacon Marissa, let's give her a hand.
Amen. So, as Pastor said, my name is Marissa, and I am a RBT registered behavior technician. So, I just want to start off, when I do tell stories and experiences, I'm not going to say any name, reveal identity, reveal any even gender. So when I refer to my client, I might say my client or XYZ, just to protect their identity. And if I talk about parents, I'm not going to say, oh, this mom did this or did that, or their dad did that. I'm going to refer to them as caregiver, just to also protect their gender and identity as well. So, what is autism? A simple definition, like Pastor says, it could be a social disorder, but also a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. So some of the other symptoms of autism that I see in myself and also others around me is ADD or ADHD, attention deficit disorder, or hyperactivity disorder. Also ODD, which stands for oppositional defiant disorder, or we can call it, in our church, rebellion. Oppositional defiant disorder is a disorder in a child marked by defiant and disobedient behavior to authority figures. The cause of oppositional defiant disorder is unknown, but likely involves a combination of genetic and environmental factors. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. For example, I had OCD when it came to food. I think everybody in here pretty much loved food. So OCD is basically excessive thoughts, obsessions that lead to repetitive behaviors or compulsions. Obsessive compulsive disorder is characterized by unreasonable thoughts and fears, basically like obsessions, that lead to compulsive behaviors. Tourette's, which is another form of autism. So basically, all of these are tying into what's going to be for my next slide. These are just certain characteristics that can tie to being autistic. But just because you may have this or deal with this doesn't mean you're autistic, okay? Don't self-diagnose yourself, please. So Tourette's is a nervous system disorder involving repetitive movements and unwanted sounds. Tourette's syndrome starts in childhood. It involves uncontrollable repetitive movements and unwanted sounds or tics, such as repeatedly blinking the eyes, shrugging the shoulders, or blurting out offensive words. Let's see. Next slide. So characteristics of autism is a difficulty in social interactions, unusual interest in objects, difficulty with changes and routines, have a great ability in one area and a difficulty in another. Unusually strong reactions to one or more five senses, eye or sight, smell, touch, things like that. You can do the same thing over and over again or talk constantly about the specific thing that interests that particular individual. Unusual interest and prolonged emotional reactions. So there are 5 levels of autism. There is the autistic spectrum disorder, which is ASD. It used to be preferred or called Asperger's syndrome, Rett syndrome, CDD, child distinguative disorder, Kanner syndrome or classic autistic disorder, and pervasive development disorder, PDD-NOS. So the level 1 ASD is basically, it's the area of a normal or above normal intelligence. They have a strong verbal skill. In most cases, some have advanced vocabulary, but social communication is still a challenge. And another one of this is they tend to develop a high interest in certain areas, so they can be like an expert in cars, they can be an expert in like a particular toy or a particular movie. They can tell you the ins and outs of the movie, and they can go on and on about it all day if you would allow them. Level 2 is Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome was disqualified as a part of autism in the recent years, but this mainly affects girls as early as 6 months. This includes social communication and impaired ability to use one's hands. So there is a gross motor and a fine motor skills. Gross motor is basically like the large muscles, walking, crawling, and running. Fine motor skills are small muscles like grasping, drawing, object manipulation. Level 3 is CDD. This type of autism comes later around the age of 2. A child can seem to be developing normally, then all of a sudden, the child will start to regress. Some describe it as like the child shutting down. They suddenly stop talking, making eye contact, and social skills start to regress. Doctors found a correlation between this autism and disorders resulting in seizures. Level 4 is Kanner syndrome. The level includes the classic autistic disorder. Kanner is actually a doctor who studied autism. They call him like the father of autism. So this comes with challenges in communicating, understanding others, little to no eye contact, and hypersensitivity to stimuli, basically smell, light, noise, taste, or touch. This particular diagnosis displayed a profound need for routine, and they usually display no interest in the world around them. Their attention becomes inward, and they have little desire to interact with others. And the last one, PDD-NOS. This form is generally less severe than others. People with PDD-NOS are able to manage the symptoms of this milder form more easily. This particular group would be considered more high functioning. Basically, more high functioning, they can basically mask or hide, and they can seem like normal to society. Like most people won't be able to see, oh, this person has autism. Story time. So, right now I'm just gonna be sharing my experiences from my job and also experiences in my life. So as most of you know, when I first came to church, I had a really, really bad anxiety issue to the point where I couldn't even go grocery shopping. And through the obedience and also through the love and the patience that pastors have shown me, now I'm able to stand up here in front of you all today, and it doesn't like freak me out. Like if I would have been up here when I was 19, I probably would have had a meltdown. So, can you play the YouTube clip? So it's like a short 2-minute YouTube clip. This is a child, they call it having a meltdown. He's overstimulated.
Lyric, settle down. Okay, it's okay. No, we're gonna shut that off. We're gonna turn that off, okay? Okay? Shh. Okay, Lyric, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay. It's all right. Okay. Hey. Stop. Back. Stop. Don't hit Daddy. Lyric. Stop. Stop. Lyric, stop. Yeah. Shut it off. There you go. There you go. Okay. Here, try to get it. There you go. Get one of the big couch pillows. It's okay.
So that was after the meltdown. Usually what happens is after the meltdown, it's so intense for them. They're so overstimulated that they just sleep for hours after that. So that was the end of the video. So I wanted to show you guys that video so you guys can have a better idea of the stories I'm gonna tell you. I have had experiences like that with my other clients. The longest one that I had, it was about 1 hour and 45 minutes of that exact behavior. Thankfully, that client wasn't as old as the individual we saw on the video. My client was younger and smaller. So basically what happened, this client really, really wanted some Play-Doh. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind giving you Play-Doh, but before you get this Play-Doh, you need to do something to earn it, as in we have to do a goal, and then if you do the goal, then you get the Play-Doh. Client didn't like that so much. Put the Play-Doh on the side, instantly, bop! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness. This kid felt like he almost knocked me out. He hit me like right here, like with the bottom of his palm, and then was like trying to climb over me and his mom. Trying to climb over me and the caregiver. To get the Play-Doh. And so I told the caregiver to please step out to leave the door open. I want it to be a safe environment for my client. So as they were doing the meltdown, I was just repeatedly saying, all you have to do is just tell me what you want. I will give you the Play-Doh. Client refused for an hour and 45 minutes to tell me what they wanted. So after a while, I just stopped repeating that, and then my only thing that I could do was make sure that they didn't hit their head. They would try to claw at my face, try to bite me, and they even came around me, grabbed my hair with both of their hands, and then was like this, and I was like trying to get them to come around. So it's literally like this client is manifesting. The client screamed to the point where they lost their voice. Has anybody had that where they were like getting delivered and they like screamed to the point where they lost their voice the next day? That would happen to the client. I saw them the next day and I was like, sorry. But basically, long story short, it's like when God has something for us, but we can't get it right at that moment, we all mostly throw a tantrum. We all are like, I want this now. I want my calling now. No, God, you said that you're going to do this for me. I want it now. But usually before we get whatever that calling is or whatever God promised us, there's always a requirement for that. Client's requirement at that time was just to do a goal. It was a very, very simple goal. And then to God, it could be like, all I'm requiring for you is to forgive. All I'm requiring for you is to let this go. And then for us, we throw this huge tantrum. No, I don't want to. You need to give me this now. And we will start spiritually kicking pastors, spiritually grabbing their hair, spiritually almost knocking them out by a slap of the face, and they will sit there and take that as we're beating them, and they'll repeatedly, with patience and love, repeatedly over and over again, all you have to do is this. All you have to do is this. All you have to do is just forgive. All you have to do is just obey this one simple instruction I can give you, and then boom, you'll be able to get this. Or boom, you'll get your deliverance. So, yeah. So, through the insurance company and through the goals that our supervisors set, most of them we have to track the tantrum. So that tantrum, like I said before, was an hour and 45 minutes. So that video was 2 minutes long. So imagine that for an hour and 45 minutes, me going and trying to stop this client from hitting their head, from scratching me, from pulling my hair, from even biting me. And then this client is very young. They haven't even started school yet. And this client is characterized as a nonverbal. They can speak, but if you didn't really know the client, you would think it's like mumbling. You wouldn't be able to understand what they're saying. But after being with them for so long, to me, I was able to clearly understand what they wanted. So this client would even say, I don't want Play-Doh, I want crayons. I don't want Play-Doh, I want this. Trying to still, okay, if you're not gonna give me the Play-Doh, I still don't wanna do the goal, but you don't have to give me the Play-Doh. Can you just give me this instead? Like, seeing if I would settle for something less. And for the whole time, I had to sit there and just remain neutral. I can't show any emotion if I'm, like, whatever I'm feeling inside, I can't show it. I had to just completely ignore it. Client is in my face, yelling and screaming, and even while they're talking, kind of like spitting, and I can feel the spit coming at my face, and I have to remain neutral. And then eventually the mom or the caregiver came in. Both caregivers came in and they were like, Like, why can't you just give them the Play-Doh? Give them the Play-Doh. As I'm holding this client, trying to make sure they're safe, I have the caregivers over me like this. Just give them the Play-Doh. I don't understand why you're letting him do this. Look at him. Look at them. They're sweating. They're hot. And I'm like trying to remain neutral when I have all of this going on. And then after the fact, client got so tired, and then they stopped as I was sitting down, moved my hands, climbed on top of me, and then just knocked out. Like, I had to leave early that day for session because the client fell asleep for more than half an hour, so I had to leave. But it was a 4-hour session, and basically for 2 hours, right when I got there, it was just full-blown tantrum. So basically what ABA therapy is we're going and we're trying to teach these individuals new habits. We understand that they have a hypersensitivity to something. So like for us, these lights, the fan noises, everyone sitting around us, it doesn't really affect us, right? But if someone who has autism and who has hypersensitivity, they wouldn't be able to concentrate on what I'm saying because we can hear the fan. We can hear the fan. We see these lights up here. We see these fans moving. Someone next to us can have a particular perfume that sets us off, and we're overstimulated. And they can't focus. So with ABA therapy, we understand that and we put that into consideration. So if an individual is overstimulated, we teach them habits and ways to communicate that. So I have another client who will get overstimulated when, so if we play a certain game, they get really excited. And then sometimes they get so excited, like they'll sit there and then he just starts like this. And I'm like, what are you right now? And then I have to stop them, have them look at me in the eye and tell me I'm excited. They get so excited. Or if they see, say for example, say a client loves pink and then they see Elder Sarah's dress, oh my goodness, they wouldn't even focus on Elder Sarah. They would only focus on the color. And they would completely blur out Elder Sarah and only focus on the color. So if Elder Sarah's trying to do something, without them even realizing that she's trying to do something, they will sit there and stare, come close, even sometimes smell it. I have clients that smell me. They can recognize me by my scent. When I first walk in the door, I have a mask on. They don't know what my face looks like, but every time I come in, this client grabs my hand. Hi, 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 hi. And then they smile, and then they realize, oh, this is Marissa. And then they come in and they like pull me down, and then they come in for a hug, but then they smell my neck. So like, to us, it may seem like it's kind of weird, but to them, that is a way of recognizing who I am. So for that, it doesn't really bother me. It's cute now because they're a little kid, but as I get older, it's not going to be so cute, but for right now, it's okay. So on the client who smells me, that is a hypersensitive individual. When I come into the house and all the lights are on, it overstimulates them. There was an interview I saw on YouTube, and then if someone with autism looks into someone's eyes, they said it feels like it's almost like burning. It hurts for them to look someone in the eye. So there's a trick We teach them look at my head or look at my nose. It looks like you're looking at someone in the eyes when you do that. So that's like a way to kind of move around it, but it's also forming a habit. So when they do go out to society and someone does talk with them, look at them in the nose, look at them on the forehead. It looks like you're at least engaging, and it will teach them to be more aware of what that person is trying to communicate with them as well. So I have this client, really, really, really cute kid, so cute. I come in, he smells me, he recognizes who I am, he's like, recognizes who I am, and they're like, boom, let's go play. Cool. That day when I came in, that client was not happy. So one of the symptoms of autism is they love to stick in routine. If their routine is messed with, their whole day, they will have high anxiety. They're like, no. Like, my routine is done. So before I came, client got extremely dirty, got marker all over themselves. So the caregiver was like, all right, let's go get you into the bath before Marissa comes for ABA. Usually that client takes a bath before bed. Completely broke the routine of when they were taking the bath. And before I even walked through the door, I heard this client screaming, "Wah! Wah!" And then knocked on the door. A caregiver let me in and told me what's going on. So put my stuff down, went over, and this client, like I said, is hypersensitivity, and they have a size that's too small of shoes for this client that this client still likes to wear because it squeezes their foot. This client loves squeezing, like squeezing the arm. Also, this client loves to squeeze objects, and this client is extremely strong for the age that they're in. And sometimes I'm trying to clean up or do something, the client will come behind me and squeeze, and it's like, whoa, they're really strong. So client had on these shoes. Client had on a size too small of a winter jacket, and it was hot outside. It only happened a few weeks ago, so it's summer. And the client had on pants that were too tight, so they were being squeezed. It helps with the anxiety. And then I saw the client's foot slowly creep up with the shoe on, like they were about to kick me. And I went to block it, and then the other foot with the shoe on, boom, right into my face. Kicked me with the shoe on his foot, or on their foot. And it happened so fast, and I got kicked, and I was like, boom, and I was like, whoa, you're fast. And then the caregiver was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I'm trying to calm this client down, make sure they're protected, and I'm in complete shock. I'm like, this little just kicked me in my face with this shoe on. They knew what they were doing. I got fooled. They were like, ooh, look at my foot, boom. Thankfully, I had the mask on. It kind of they kicked me right here. And then the caregiver was like, I think you need to go to the bathroom and check your face. I was like, I think you're right. So I went to the bathroom, and I was like, uh-oh, I feel something dripping from my nose. I was like, I hope that's not blood. And then the client kicked me so hard, my nose was running mucus, and I was like, okay, at least it's not blood. At least it's not blood. At least it's not blood. But yeah, that was supposed to be a 2-hour session. For the whole 2-hour session, it was just, the client would seem a little bit okay. I would get a goal in, and then all of a sudden, without realizing if I'm doing something to overstimulate the client, or if there's something surrounding them that's overstimulating the client, they would just start bursting into another meltdown. So I felt bad for the caregiver because after my 2-hour mark, I do have to leave. I can't stay. But yeah, even after I left, it was continuous. So yeah, there's so many stories. And even I had another client that wouldn't really hit me, but if I wasn't giving them my full attention, they would come and grab my face if I'm talking to a caregiver, and they would go, "Hey, look at me. Hey, what are you doing? Stop talking. Stop this. Stop that." And I have to continuously, over and over, stop their hand, tell them, "I will be with you in just a moment. You have to wait. Stop talking. Don't say that. Hey, look at me. Look what I did today." And all of a sudden, they would be able to answer questions and do things that are part of the goals. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, you haven't been able to do this for 3 weeks. All of a sudden, now you know how to answer this question? I'm like, you are tricking us, because just yesterday, you couldn't answer this question. All of a sudden, now you can tell me how your whole day was in full detail. So basically, all this is the kicking, the screaming, the scratching, them pulling my face to want attention. The point of ABA is to redirect them into a better way of communicating what they're feeling. So, example for the client who wants my attention, instead of grabbing my face, we will teach them, you can say, "Hey, Marissa, look at this," or can you look at this, please? And then when they do ask that, we call it praising them, or a reinforcement. We'll give them a reward. We'll give them a praise to let them know you're doing this correctly. You're doing a good job. Like the client who loves cars, they do that correctly. Here you go, boom, you get a car. And then eventually, as this becomes 100% at master level with me, then we move it to the caregivers, then we move it to someone else, then we go to another room and rerun the same goals until they reach mastery at all these different levels, because we want to teach them that it's not just with Marissa you're supposed to do this with. It's not just with mom and dad in your room that you're supposed to do this with. You have to do this in all different locations, in all different environments, whether you want to stay in your room or whether you want to go into the living room, whether you don't want to go outside. We will take them out there and run the goals, even if it may overstimulate them. There may be some difficulty at the beginning, but give it a few weeks, and then most of the time, they become kind of less freaked out. The meltdowns won't happen as much, and actually, then we start seeing some progress. It just takes time, patience, and just letting them know, like you're okay, like you just have to do this one goal, and then we'll be able to do this. And then after a while, as they learn to trust and learn to know, and as what's the word I'm looking for? As I'm keeping my word with the praises that I promised them, as I'm keeping my word with, okay, as long as you do this, then you'll get your car, or as long as you do this, then you get your 5 minutes of break time, or whatever they're requesting for. Then as they realize, well, Marissa keeps delivering what she's promising me. Marissa, she's not taking this away from me. I still get it back. All I have to do is this one thing. And then eventually what's going to happen is they're going to be less flustered, or the meltdowns won't happen as much, because they'll realize, oh, you know what? I am going to get this car, or I am going to get this toy. All I have to do is this one thing. And then even it's going to happen with the caregivers. You know what? Well, Marissa said, give me one moment. And then my caregiver said, give me one moment. And then eventually it's going to form into a habit of, well, this random person at my job said, give me 1 moment, and then it's going to register, okay, I need to give them 1 moment because they're probably not ready to talk with me yet. And then also, when they're out in society, not everyone's going to be able to give them a praise. Wow, good job, thanks for waiting, here's your blah, blah, blah. You know, so even the praises or the reinforcement is eventually, once it reaches to a certain mastery level, it's actually, the praises are going to be pulled back. It's not going to be every time. It's going to be every 2 times they do it. It's going to be every 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. So eventually, it's going to be a habit of when we don't praise them at all. To where when we say, give me 1 moment, they're going to realize, I need to give you 1 moment, and I'm not going to praise them for it at all. Sorry, I need some water. Now it's dry. So, sorry if I'm babbling on. Just one more story. It pertains to this slide. Why does environment and caregivers play such a huge role? So, this is kind of where it ties in also to environment, even at the church. We've all have been pulled out of our routine or environment of a life that was formed, that we were used to. And then we got pulled out of it, basically, and we are completely in a new environment. And as most of us know, when we all first come here, even now, like, especially like what Pastor says, baby Christians just coming all over here, diarrheaing everywhere, peeing everywhere, we just gotta clean up after their poop, blah, blah, blah. But also, there is a reason why, a different angle on a reason why we're doing that, because honestly, sometimes babies, they don't know. We're in a new environment that we are completely unaware of. It's just something new. You know, I have, from my own experience, I have this male pastor who's like, I have nothing to offer them, I have nothing to give them, is coming and is concerned with my well-being, not just in the church, but also outside with how I live. To me, that was a completely new thing. I'm like, whoa, like, what are you doing, you know? And to us, it could be many forms, you know? We're in this new environment, but it's also like, you can see pastors like in RBT and we're the autistic clients. They're coming, okay, just do this, just do this, just do this, and you'll get this. It reminds me of a picture where like there was like this little kid and Jesus, and God's like, give me your teddy bear, but behind his back he had like an even bigger teddy bear. It's like, just give me this and you'll get something even better. But for us, it's hard to let go of that little bear or that thing that we've carried on for so long. So I had another client, and the caregiver, after every session, would say right in front of their child, when are they going to become normal? How fast do your other clients go? Why does it take them so long to do this? Right in front of their child. This child is nonverbal. This child is so cute, though, and so smart. Oh, my goodness. Just so cute. I just want to pinch their cheeks. They're so cute. But as this caregiver would say this in front of their child, the whole demeanor of the child would just, whoo. And you can tell that they know what their caregiver is saying. They know how that caregiver is feeling, that frustration. Because even when I walk into that home, you can like feel it. You're like, and they have like Christian lyrics and you know, not lyrics, Bible verses up on the walls. They have crosses. They have worship piano music playing. I'm like, okay, this person's a Christian. But they're going on talking about how frustrated and basically complaining that their child is in this state. But really, based off of my experience, that client is very smart. I was only with that client for a short amount of time, and in that moment, that client, with the first day I went to that client, they wouldn't even smile. I would do something like, oh, like tickle them, try to get close with them and trust them. They would just look at me like nothing. I'm like, like maybe they're not so much liking me. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I need to pull back and be a little bit more calm. So I tried different methods on trying to win this client to be close with me. And eventually we got into a routine, and then eventually the client loved when I tickled them. The client loved when I would give them praise and I would go into their face and, do certain things. This client couldn't even stack Legos together. This client would literally take a Lego, like just things that we take advantage of just by being a kid. They would look at a toy. They wouldn't see, oh, I can play with this. They would look at it and use it as a stimulator because they were so nervous, because they were overstimulated. So during that time, I was trying to teach that client. A lot of it was basically how to communicate and also being a kid, how to put these Legos together, how to play with this, how to play with that. And then eventually, before I left, that client was able to stack Legos. That client was laughing. That client was smiling. That client would even come and hug me. And oh my goodness, it was like a completely different, I see this client evolving before my eyes. And then when I would leave, this client would be laughing and running all over, and then boom, caregiver. Why can't they do this yet? Why is it that when you do this, or why is it that when I do this, the client can't do this already? I have a smaller child, and my smaller child can do this, but they can't. Comparing them to another child, comparing them to other stories that they've heard. But in reality, client's not stupid. In reality, the client is very smart. And in reality, just because someone can't speak and doesn't know how the habit yet to communicate, doesn't mean that they don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Doesn't mean they can't understand the environment around them. So when we have come into this new environment, it was like that at first, but then after a while, pastors kept chipping away at us, kept coming at us, also with different angles, different strategies on basically how to win us. And then before you know it, we all have testimonies. Before we know it, we have all made some progress. But that was through God and pastors continuously, okay, maybe this isn't working, let's try this. Okay, I see this is working, let's keep going at it. Okay, great, we've got to this level, now let's push you a little bit more. And then before you know it, it's like we're like how did we even get to this level? How did our lives even become this? In a good way, in shock and amazement. Like when I first came to the church, I couldn't even go grocery shopping. When I first came to the church, going to Costco, yeah, right. That would completely overwhelm me. In my mind, I'm like, well, what should I buy? How do I know I need this? Well, why would I need this? Oh my goodness, that person is staring at me. Okay, I need to go. This is too much. That was what would go on in my mind. And then, so that's why environment and caregivers or pastors or whoever is put over you and what pastors say is so important. I'm pretty sure if all of us haven't been to this church, our lives would be so messed up right now. I wouldn't be able to even communicate the fact that it gives me anxiety going to the store. I remember being a little girl, my mom would be like, all right, let's go to the store. And I would start feeling overwhelmed but I couldn't express that to my mom. I didn't know how to express that to my mom. I would just get into this rage of, I don't want to go to the store. You always ask me to go to the store with you. I don't want to go to the store. Blah, 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 blah. But in reality, it would just freak me out. There was too many people. I didn't like having to wait in the line. There was just so many options and just so many things going on at the store. It freaked me out. And then growing up, as I was studying and becoming an RBT, I realized, wow, I just didn't have the habit formed yet of communicating. That environment around me wasn't an option for me at that time. I didn't know how to communicate. It freaks me out to go to the store. I feel like this when I go to the store. I feel like this in this situation. So that's basically what ABA is. We're giving our clients the opportunity that it's okay that you feel this way at this moment, but you need to communicate that in a way that's not hitting, in a way that's not kicking or biting. You have to communicate with me in whatever level that they can. Either it's sign language, or sometimes it's a one word. They call it a manding, like a one word mand of break or no or give me time, please. And however they communicate that, we respect that, and you know what? Okay, give me time, please. No problem. I will give you your time. And then I will give them a set time. Okay, you have 5 minutes for your break. Once your 5-minute break is over, we're gonna do this. And then if you want more break, we're gonna do this, then we can go back to another break. So, yeah, there's a lot of stories, and one thing that I actually really love about this job is seeing, like, from when I first start with my clients to even 5 months of being with them every day and just seeing the improvement, and then just seeing from where they started to where they are now. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, these kids are super smart. I'm like, I feel like you don't even need me anymore. Like, you know how to communicate. Bye. Like, you guys don't need me anymore. So I'll just read it. How does this apply spiritually? Next slide. Romans 12:2. Do not allow this world to mold you into its own image. Instead, be transformed from the inside out by renewing your mind. As a result, you will be able to discern what God wills and whatever God finds good, pleasing, and complete. Definition of renewing. Resume an activity after an interruption. Re-establish a relationship. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. Talking a lot. Repeat a statement. Give fresh life or strength to. Revive. And then the last one, replace. Something that is broken or worn out. Basically, renewing your mindset or renewing a habit. You're replacing your old habit, a worn out habit, a broken habit, into a new habit that can eventually become a habit to help other people. So basically, Romans 12 is saying, do not allow this world to mold you into this old image. Instead, be transformed from the inside out by replacing something that is broken or worn out, your mind. So you're basically taking that old way of thinking or that old habit of, like when pastor comes in and he says, that's it, you're going on a diet. He's breaking up my routine on how I eat, on how I live every day. And it wasn't just on how I eat. It was like my whole viewpoint on how I would see food. Like I don't understand. Why can't I have this? Why can't I have that? My routine is broken up throughout the day. Now I have to possibly spend more time cooking. Now I possibly wake up and I can't eat what I want. your routine is broken. And sometimes it's not the fact that we can't have the food, it's the fact that our routine, our old habit is being taken away, and we have to form a new habit, a new mindset of food, a new mindset of our life, a new habit in our life that is something that we're not used to. 1 Corinthians 9:20 through 22. To the Jews I became a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I become like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law. So as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I become weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. This scripture almost became alive to me after becoming an RBT. Not only do I understand what pastors mean when it becomes exhausting to serve and to basically become a punching bag, I understand that now. I've become a literal punching bag to my clients, however form it may come. But even not just to my clients, even also to the caregivers. They come in and, oh my goodness, sometimes if something happens to their precious baby, everybody watch out. You will be in the line of fire because they do not understand this habit or this reaction that they're seeing to form the new habit. Sometimes the client will try to fight, or sometimes the client doesn't like what we're teaching them, but eventually it will become into a new habit that will not only make sessions run more smoothly. I don't know why I said smoothie. Maybe I want a smoothie. It will not only help the sessions run more smoothly, but it will also help the day-to-day lives of the caregivers and the relationship between the child and the caregiver run more smoothly. But at that moment, they just see their precious baby crying on the floor, what looks like a tantrum, but is an overstimulated meltdown that they can't communicate verbally what they're feeling. To them, they're not used to it. Most caregivers kind of just give in. So when the caregiver gives in, it's reinforcing that bad habit. It's basically reinforcing, that's okay, you can cry and you can melt down, I'll give you more time with the Play-Doh, you don't have to ask me because you're nonverbal. No, they could still communicate nicely, I want Play-Doh, just in another form of way of communication. But they're gonna have to communicate it regardless, whether the parents eventually give them to another actual caregiving facility. That caregiving facility, you're gonna still have to communicate certain wants and needs. You can't just have a meltdown. It's just not gonna be that pleasant. So I completely understand what pastors mean. It's exhausting to basically be the punching bag of basically having to get down to someone else's level and to basically become them. When I'm with my clients and when I am also teaching the caregivers how to complete this goal even when I'm not there, oh my goodness. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I need a break. It's like a 4-hour session, but the 4-hour session is so long. It is so long, and after 4 hours of work, it felt like I worked 12 hours at Cold Stone again. It was a lot. It takes a lot out of you. So after this job, it actually helped me to appreciate more everything that not only pastors have done for me and my husband, but it also taught me just to appreciate for what they've done for the church as a whole, for every individual one of us. Like, we have no idea what pastors have done to keep us even here, keep us saved, keep us just at least still in the race. And like, I know I've probably spiritually have scratched and kicked and, threw a tantrum at pastor, but you see him, he's kind of just like, hey, like no big deal. Like, and at this job, it's teaching me how to be like that. I can get kicked in the face, and I'm like, I'm okay, you're okay, everything is fine, my nose is running, but it's fine. I have tears coming down my eyes, but I'm okay. Let's get you all taken care of. And it's like you completely forget about yourself. Even though I got kicked in the face, and it was kind of like, whoa. This kid just kicked me in the face. At that moment, it didn't oh man, this hurts, this sucks. I didn't think like that. My mindset was focused on trying to protect this child to make sure that they don't fall or hit their head, or I just want to make sure that they're okay. It's like I completely forgot about myself. Like, you can even kick me in the face again, and I'm still focused on trying to help this child. So, let us all examine ourselves. Do you have or had any of these traits? I see a lot of myself in these traits, starting from anxiety, not liking my routine change, and also loud noises. But through God and our pastors, now I am able to say these are no longer holding me back. Now I can help others with kindness, compassion, and understanding. Amen.